This is London. Hello and welcome to another edition of Shire Network News. Once again, we're packed with the wholesome goodness of truth and a large spicy side order of dry humour. This week, he who must be revered, Tom Paine, has gone AWOL. Some vague story about the imminent death of a king is serving as yet another excuse for him to sip exotic, coloured alcoholic drinks. He swears he's flown to a tropical paradise for work. The rest of us are not so sure. This gave yours truly, Brian of London, the chance to step into the breach once more and conduct this week's feature interview. Our usual blog-slanted angle has been pushed aside as we interview an IDF paratrooper who was injured on the last night of what may, one day, be called Part 1 of the 06 Lebanon War. This is a special interview. We hear direct what the Hezbollah enemy is like, how they fight and what weapons they have. You want confirmation that the IDF was fighting with Iran? We have it.
We remember the Hezbollah, they have Kalashnikov and RPG, and they try to fight against you, and that's it. Now they have something much better than that. From Russia, from Iran, they're very, very good missiles, really.
And we even get to hear about the Zionist Llamas. No kidding, they really do exist. That interview coming up very soon. Over on the other side of the Atlantic, Lawrence has managed to find a full of crap story without a hint of anti-Semitism. Can that really be true? I'm shocked, I tell you, shocked. Meryl has landed another edition of On Second Thought, with her take on the efforts of the IDF in Lebanon. She's holding out for a hero, or anyone who can fight a battle in Jericho. But first, a very short blog news. There have been a number of reports in the mainstream media, picked up and thrown around in the blogs, about airline passengers who either A. are being vigilant as instructed by the authorities, looking for possibly suspicious behaviour and pointing out individuals who are acting in a strange way, or B. panicky, racist, bigoted, stupid people insisting that planes don't take off until anyone dark-skinned or Asian is thrown off. Meanwhile, the most senior Muslim police officer in Britain, they never actually mention his rank, just say that he's the most senior, postulated that passenger profiling would lead to a new offence of travelling while Asian. From Jihad Watch, we now hear Robert Spencer has to modify his own in-flight behaviour as he no longer reads his Quran openly in case it scares the other passengers. Perhaps anyone choosing to recite, say, the same prayers that are said by suicide bombers before they blow might think it better to do this silently in today's aircraft. And now it's time for our feature interview. Offa is a serving reserve in the IDF paratroopers. His is an elite unit, and he spent a number of nights over the border in Lebanon. He is too modest to go into details here, but he was injured on the night before the ceasefire, and a number of his close friends were killed and wounded. As a paramedic, he attended to these men first, before seeking treatment himself. He has a lot to say about the enemy in the north, and he's not too complimentary about the way the IDF was used. I'll let him kick off with a little about himself.
I work in a computer company in Israel, and we joined to the army again 3 weeks ago. Okay? We went to the Golan Heights, near to Syria.
And what's the unit that you're part of as a reserve?
Yes, I'm a parachute. I'm a medic. In my unit, I'm the first medic. It means that I'm the commander of all the medic people, soldiers in my unit.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the doctor. We have the doctor, and after the doctor, I'm the second one.
Okay.
And then I have all the other medics.
How long have you been a reserve?
Now,
Yeah.
3 weeks,
Okay.
almost a month.
And the last time that you were a full-time soldier?
Full time, it was in 91, in the first Gulf War.
And since then, you've been going back every year, I guess?
Yes, every year, almost every year.
Okay.
Last year I went for 25 days in Gaza.
So you've seen a fair bit of action in the past?
Many. Even in Lebanon. The last time that I spent time in Lebanon were in 91, and then after a few years later, near to the border. It's on the border, but not inside Lebanon.
Uh-huh. So this time the fighting started when Hezbollah came over and kidnapped 2 soldiers and killed more, and the Katyusha started flying. Did you know immediately that you were going to get called up?
Yeah, we knew that. A few days later, because one of the commanders, friends of mine.
It seemed to take a long time before ground forces were moved up to the border. Did it feel like a long time for you?
Yeah, it was. We thought that it should be much earlier than it were, because we saw that it's not enough from the air to attack them. We should get inside very soon as possible, and not like it was after almost 2.5 or 3 weeks since it started. Because we saw that it should be much earlier, and it will be much more effective if it will be in that way.
Were people more in touch with what was going on in the rest of Israel this time?
You mean the soldiers with
Exactly.
the people inside?
Yes.
We didn't have phones. We
Okay.
We couldn't take the phones inside Lebanon because it's very dangerous. Because of the missiles, they have some kind of some kind of way that they shoot on. If you speak with the phone inside Lebanon, they can treat you.
Yes.
And send a missile exactly for the point that you stand in.
Now we've heard the IDF and the IAF using this on terrorists in Gaza, but you think that the Hezbollah can do this too?
Yes, they can. Of course.
All right. Do you want to tell me, as you know, whatever you want to tell me about going over the border and what it's like facing Hezbollah? Are they a sort of hopeless, untrained militia like some of the world media wants to present, or are they proper fighters?
They fighters. They're very, very good fighters, if you ask me.
Yeah.
They're not, like all the other terrorists that just shoot and run. They fight. They fight for their life. If they have wounded, they taking the wounded back. They're trying to take the wounded back. They're not surrender. They fight. And the problem is that you cannot see them because they shoot, they hide, and if you ask me, they are very, very good fighters. Yeah.
It's not easy to hear this for the rest of us outside, because...
Yeah, I know. It's very hard to say that, but they have very, very, very good missiles. They know how to shoot the missiles. They train very well. They're waiting for this moment. For 6 years, they're waiting for this moment. That we will get into Lebanon again, and they're waiting for us. That's the truth. But face to face, we are much better than them. Because each time that we fight with them face to face, we had one fight last week, Thursday. Last Thursday, not that,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, we fight against them from inside the building. What the name? Village. Doesn't matter the name.
Yeah.
We fought against them, and we had 10 wounded. No one's killed,
Mhm.
but they had from the first. This from my unit, it was the first fight,
Yep.
and they had 10 killed of the Hezbollah. 10 killed, and we had 10 wounded.
This is close fighting in a village.
Yes, this was the first fight that we were in. And later we had few other fights, few days. Well, last week, exactly. Last week we had a fight, but we didn't see them because they shoot from far away. They killed 2 from our soldiers, and then our tanks trying to help us, and our tanks shoot on us.
Oh, gee.
Our tanks, our tanks. And our tanks killed 2 soldiers and 15 wounded.
It's hard to hear this stuff.
Yes. It's very hard to hear it, but this is the reality, you know. When they fight, they shoot on us, our tanks trying to help us, and kind of these things happen.
It's a dangerous, dangerous place.
Yes, because, you know, sometimes we don't know from where they shoot on us. Because it's missiles, they can shoot from 2 or 3 kilometers.
So they just arrive and boom.
Yes, they shoot and disappeared. As I said before, if we are inside the villages and they are inside the villages too,
Yep.
probably they're gonna die.
Yeah.
But when they fight, you know, from far away, you cannot do anything about it.
So not only is the Israeli public facing these long-range missiles that are coming down into the civilian areas, but the soldiers are facing much, much better weapons than you faced in the past from simple terrorists.
Of course, they have very, very, very good weapons. It's amazing, because they have the best weapons in the world.
And you didn't know this when you went in for the first time?
No, we didn't know that. We remember the Hezbollah, like, you know, they have Kalashnikov and RPG, and they try to fight against you, and that's it. Maybe some Sagers, you know, the missile Sager.
Yeah.
And that's it. Now they have something much better than that.
Yeah. And
yes, from Russia, from Iran, they're very, very good missiles, really. You know, when we were inside,
yeah,
we were inside the buildings.
Yeah.
They have many stuff there.
Yeah.
We didn't touch anything.
Yeah.
We didn't touch it even. We didn't even think about it to touch it.
You didn't want to bring
just,
some.
Yes.
What's the point? What pisses me off is that they have better weapons than you, and that's.
They have no. It's not the point that they have better weapons. We have very, very good weapons. The problem is that we're not going to use it. Because if you're going to use it, we're going to destroy all South Lebanon. That's the point. We can use it, but if we will use it, it will be a disaster for Lebanon. We have bombs. If you send one bomb in the middle of a village, all the village disappeared. And then the whole world will be screaming that we're destroying Lebanon. Now it's,
the whole world is screaming anyway, so I'm starting to think Israel should just do it. The whole world condemns Israel when they take as much care as they can.
Yes. If you ask me, we too good. We took care about what the people said about us.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that we lose a lot of lives.
The guys you were fighting have got 3 changes of clothes in their bag. Their dress uniform, their combat fatigues, and then the civilian clothes they put on 10 minutes after they've shot at you.
Exactly. And we saw few civilians walking on the streets.
Yeah.
We asked the commanders a few times if to shoot them or not. And we didn't. And after a few minutes, we got many missiles on us. We're not going to kill civilians, never. It's not going to happen. And it's our problem. We are stupid, if you ask me. Yeah. If you ask me, we should fight again. For sure. There is no other way. Because, the Arabs know just force.
Yeah.
Just the reason.
You have to fight the same way they fight.
Yes. We can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to think different. That's it. You know, we felt like a ducks and llamas. You know, the animal llama.
Exactly. Listen, there were reports in the press that the Israeli army were using llamas to carry
Yes.
equipment. Is this true?
Yes, it's true, but it's happened in that war once, but it's not gonna work. They didn't want to. They didn't want to take all that stuff. They stopped in the middle. But it was amazing. We took around 40 kilos
Yeah.
for each bags on us. On us,
Yeah.
40 kilos to walk 12 kilometers inside Lebanon with 40 kilos on you.
Ah, that's hard work.
It's horrible. It's horrible. You can't move. It's amazing. You can't move. You walk so many miles.
A lot of the listeners to this show are readers and writers of pro-Israel blogs, and I just wondered if you were aware of the kind of support that was out there for you.
No, if you ask me, I don't care about what the BBC or the CNN or the Sky News said. I'm looking on my friend. That's what's important.
Yeah.
When I'm going there, yes, I'm going with my friend. It's not for the country, if you ask me, it's for my friend. It's not the politic issue. I don't care about the politic issue. Because if you ask me, the government in Israel made a lot of mistakes in that war. Really, a lot of mistakes.
A lot of people outside would agree with you on that. So it's for the friendship.
Just for the friendship, yes. If you ask me if they said that we should go again that week, I'm still in the army, yeah? I
Yes.
didn't release yet. If they're gonna ask us to go again, yes, we're going. But not for anyone. Not for the government, not for anyone. Just for our friendship. That's it. Because if I know that my friend's there, I should be there. And one of my friends get killed last week, 2 meters from me. Tomorrow it's the Shiva, you know.
Yes.
It's the last day, and we will be there, all of us. It's very sad for us, and we should be there to hold the family, and that's what's important.
You are fighting for
Yes.
the rest of us.
Yes, we're fighting for the rest of us, for our friends, but if you're asking me, all our people should know that we should fight one of each other, and not governments, not anyone else, just for the people. That's it.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank heavens Israel is the kind of free country where this kind of debate can happen, and people speaking out won't get hung from or even nailed to any trees. It is my fervent belief that these issues should be raised to help Israel regain the overwhelming strength it must be seen to have in order to survive in what has to be the world's roughest neighborhood. And now for an outsider's take on the war, here's Meryl Urish with On Second Thought.
This is Meryl Urish, and this is On Second Thought for Shire Network News. The war with Hezbollah, which should properly be called the war with Iran's proxy army, is not over. I'm of the opinion that the war was a dismal failure for Israel. Ehud Olmert announced 3 non-negotiable goals at the beginning of the war: the return of the kidnapped Israeli soldiers, the disarming of Hezbollah, and an end to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. None of these goals was accomplished. Hezbollah is pouring back into southern Lebanon. Syria and Iran are working hard to rearm and resupply them, and Israel has achieved what? The death of a few hundred Hezbollah militia? The destruction of a few thousand rockets? There are still thousands more in Hezbollah hands, and many thousands more on the way. Worst of all, the Arab world has been emboldened by Israel's hesitation to use overwhelming ground force with Hezbollah, and Hezbollah fighters scored many deadly hits on IDF troops with anti-tank missiles. This war is far from over. This was only the first battle. A larger war is coming, and I don't think Israel is ready for it. Certainly her leaders are not, if you go by what just happened in Lebanon. And Israel needs her leaders to be ready. Her enemies are no longer the incompetent Arab armies of the past who threw down their weapons, took off their uniforms, and ran for home. Hezbollah is Iran's proxy army, the frontline fighters in Iran's war to destroy Israel, and they're a lot better trained. An article in the San Francisco Chronicle explained in great detail how Iran has worked for over 25 years to create and groom its proxy army in Lebanon, with the willing help of Syria, under the noses of UN peacekeepers, and outside the eyes and ears of the Israeli intelligence services. Hezbollah has accomplished a great deal. It acquired thousands of Russian-made anti-tank missiles from Syria and Iran, then trained its forces to use them. The missiles were startlingly effective not just against Israeli tanks, but also against houses and other buildings where Israeli troops sought shelter. It established a combat-ready organization, a logistics branch to handle the delivery of food, fuel, and munitions, a black-clad special forces unit to conduct daring combat missions and abduct Israeli soldiers, Navy commandos, and an infantry that trains for complex operations and supports other units. Hezbollah set up a reserve system that consists of former full-time fighters who can be called back to service, and weekend warriors who undergo regular training but generally haven't seen combat. It has also created an intelligence unit that recruited a Bedouin spy inside the Israeli army, and an air wing that sent drones on test runs over Israel in 2004 and 2005, on flight paths similar to those that its Katyusha rockets followed this summer as they rained down on Israel. Iran dispatched an estimated 100 Revolutionary Guards to help Hezbollah set up military camps in the Bekaa Valley, where they provided ideological and Islamic education and boot camp-style training. Since then, according to Israeli military intelligence estimates, as many as 1,000 Lebanese recruits a year have been sent to Iran for specialty training in using rockets, anti-tank missiles, and other weapons. To reinforce the recruits' fervor, the Iranian hosts take them on pilgrimages to shrines and mosques around the Shiite heartland, according to Brigadier General Yossi Kuperwasser, until recently Israel's chief of intelligence analysis. The main thing they teach is brainwashing them with their Islamic interpretation of the Quran, he said. A soldier without motivation is not a soldier. This is not the kind of Arab army that Israel is used to fighting. These are tenacious, well-trained soldiers, and they won't be defeated by air power alone. I don't think the current Israeli leadership is up to the challenge. The next war is going to take a new generation of leaders. I don't think Ehud Olmert will step down. I expect to see him lose a no-confidence vote, and fairly soon. But I have no idea who will arise to lead Israel through this crisis. The future looks pretty bleak right now. Israel needs a Moshe Dayan or a Golda Meir. Now is when we miss Ariel Sharon the most. But I'll settle for a Joshua. He did a pretty good job in Jericho all those years ago. Israel could do with a modern-day Joshua. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you, Meryl. Israel certainly does need a Joshua. Well, if that's been too much of one thing, here is Lawrence Simon with a totally different cut on what's been making all the headlines where he is.
10 years ago, the national media went into a berserk feeding frenzy over the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. The post-OJ era provided a foundation for the overwhelming wall-to-wall chaos in which the newspapers, television, and radio reporters swarmed. Here it comes again. This past week, we've seen the television networks go even crazier over the capture of John Mark Carr, the alleged murderer who was caught in Thailand. Yes, Mark is his middle name. Aren't you glad they dug deep to get that? I never understood why local news stations devote so much time to national and international stories in all of their newscasts. Whatever happened to covering, local news? Look, the pervert is in Thailand. The murderer was in Colorado. It was exactly 10 years ago. What exactly does this have to do with Houston? Give me the weather. Give me the sports. Tell me what's going on in the city that I might trip over, foul my lungs with, could possibly be concerned enough to vote for or against. Give me something other than the national and international crap you're recycling and laying your own anchor's voice over. Please, do some work. As for the swarm of the national press, well, I guess I can understand the motivation there. They've been bleeding money hand over fist, trying to cover the Israel-Hezbollah war for the past month and a half. And most of these blow-dried pretty boys and pretty girls, it's all horribly confusing to them. Shiite, Sunni, Lebanese, Hezbollah, Israeli Arabs, and Palestinian Arabs, if there's a difference. Iran and Syria, how this relates to nuclear weapons development. I thought distractions were what Bush did, not what our enemies do, which commands to use in Photoshop. I mean, it's so much easier to go berserk covering yesterday's news, playing endless loops of file footage and harassing family members and getting attorney statements and setting the crime story talking heads against each other. It gives the warring military analyst a break. And you can always just play what Kofi Annan says at the press conferences to keep up with that war thing, right? Plus, nobody's kidnapping reporters over the JonBenet case, and you're not likely to get shot at either. Crime reporting's so much easier and safer than war correspondence. I mean, when was the last time that the attorneys had taken your passport and said, if you report the truth, we'll kill you? So thanks to this frenzy, we have his photo, his press conference, his resume, juicy gossip that he almost met with JonBenet's mother, yearbook signatures, handwriting comparisons, report on the Thai child sex trade, and even columnists like Bill Johnson of the Rocky Mountain News who don't even think he did it. Why? Because the guy's ex-wife was with him in another state on that day, she says. Of course, she could be lying, but then John Mark Carr knows details that were never given to the public. Wait, 10 years later and there's details the public doesn't know? Didn't they write 100 books on this stuff and endless reams of paper on it? After all that press coverage, the press didn't air that stuff. You'd think the 24/7 frenzy back then would have known any detail twice. Kind of makes you wonder what they did fill the airtime with and what empty filler they're filling the space between commercials with now. Oh, then there's the race issue. Pretty blonde white girl. That's good for days of meaningless debate on opportunities compared to a situation to kidnapped or murdered Hispanic or black kids. Hey, let's get Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson's opinion. You better work hard to convince them to let themselves be filmed. They really are camera shy. You know, does all this affect me at all? Does this make me any better informed about what's going on in the world? Or is this just sick, voyeuristic drama? The less time wasted on this big sack of irrelevant crap, the better. The guy's not coming after your kids. And if you've waited until now to look for advice on how to keep your kids safe, well, you're screwed. You've waited too long, and you're looking to the media for advice? These folks can't even get a weather forecast right half the time. Whatever. Unless it's news of the Colorado Rockies and their wild card run, I really don't give a shit what's happening in Denver. And you know what? Neither should you. Unless you're in Denver.
Well, I know I'm certainly not in Denver. I hope this edition of Shire Network News has met with your approval. We work hard to produce this show and would love to hear your feedback. You can do this via the blogs of any of the contributors, which you can find in the show notes. For myself, Brian of London, I write at a blog called friendsofmicronesia.com. Details are in the show notes. If you've enjoyed the show, please tell others about it and pass it around. This has been Shire Network News, like the BBC, but without the biased lies of Ola Gurin.